We're in the new Prius Prime. This is the XSE Premium. This one is loaded over $42,000. Today, we're gonna talk about if the new Prius Prime is worth that chunk of change. Let's get into it. It all starts under the hood. In America, the standard Prius has a 2-liter hybrid, 194 horsepower and 196 horsepower in the all-wheel drive model. The Prius Prime is front-wheel drive only, but you get 220 horsepower. Let's roll those 0 to 60s. All right, we are in sport mode, in hybrid mode. Not bad. Not bad for a Prius. 0 to 60 in 6.59 and 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 6.99. And we'll do a little 0 to 60 on just the electric motor. I don't think it makes a difference, but I do have 66% state of charge on the traction battery here. And go. It pulls hard to about 30 and then it falls off a cliff, but it's still going. We're still going. I mean, there's 60. 0 to 60 in 10.92 and 0 to 100 in 11.67. The Prime likes to be in EV mode, even in hybrid mode, much more than the standard Prius. And maybe since the traction battery is way bigger here, it has a bigger pool to play with compared to the normal Prius's battery. So I'm in EV mode quite a bit, and I think I'm actually getting much better miles per gallon in hybrid mode than I was in the standard front-wheel drive Prius. That shouldn't be the case because this weighs, I don't know, 300-400 pounds more depending on the trim. So yeah, it not only gets incredible EV range, up to 45 miles in my testing. You're seeing up to 59 miles per gallon now as I finish out this video. The outside of the Prius this generation is absolutely beautiful. They hit a home run. I don't need to talk too much about the styling because I've already reviewed the Prius many times on the channel. But this is the first time I've had the Prime at home to review, and there's just a few differences on the outside, and I'll do my best to highlight them. Let's start with the wheels. These are 19-inch wheels. They are exclusive only to the XSE and XSE Premium. The XLE non-Prime gets 19-inch wheels as well. There's a base SE Prime, which starts around $34,000, and you get, I believe, 17-inch wheels with that. That'll get you 44 miles of range and a little bit better MPG when you run out of that EV range. This has the optional solar roof, which is quite a bit different than my 2012 that has a solar roof. My 2012 solar roof only makes the fans run when you're sitting under the sun, and it's not AC. This will charge the battery, not only the traction battery, but also the 12-volt battery. We'll talk more about its functions here when we get on the inside of the cabin. From the back, there's just a couple differences as well compared to the normal Prius. With the Beyond Zero logo here, pretty evident. XSE only on the Prime, right? And then we have a white light on the back, which when I first saw it, I didn't think it looked as cool as the red lights on the standard model, but I think it looks actually really nice here with the white light across. This has every single option on it, and that's going to include this power lift gate here. Now we have this rubberized mat on the inside, and this is optional too, 1500 watt power coming from this hybrid system. And the cargo space here in the new Prius, it's pretty limited. Here's the charger. It comes with the vehicle, but there's no spare tire. There's a fix-a-flat kit in there. Of course, you can fold down the backs of the seats, which is nice that we have a rubberized coverings for the backs of the seats too. But is it a mosquito? I think a mosquito just got in there. Oh, it's that time of year. It's that time of year. Let's close it down. This is a gas cap. And then on the right-hand side, this is where you charge the guy. I had 0% charge driving my kids this morning to school, and then when I went to go pick them up today, I had full charge. So with my level 2, it tops this battery out in about 4 hours. So let's get on the inside. This actually rear door, to my understanding, has been recalled in Japan, and we're seeing some supply chain disruptions because of that. And we'll talk about Prime availability as the video goes on, but unfortunately for a vehicle that costs this much, hard plastic here on the back door, not ideal. Beautiful perforated leather-like seats here. I'll double check. I don't believe they're real leather, but not only perforated, they are heated. So that's kind of like a Lexus feature, or a high-end Lexus feature you typically don't see on most Toyotas or Lexus models unless you get the optional packages. 6 USBs in this vehicle. Here are 2 back here, and of course we have additional household plug right there to complement the one in the rear. So people complain a little bit about the head space in here. So here I am at 6'1". My head's not touching the roof. Now, if I sit all the way up, it does. If I slump a little bit, which I'd probably be doing on a long trip, I got a little bit of space. Long legs though, and I do have lots of leg room, I would say. A fairly flat floor. It raises 2 or 3 inches here at the bottom. Just one mat pocket in the back. XSE and XSE Premium, you can get the double roof here. Because this is a solar roof, we do not have that option, which also gives us more headroom. So maybe that's why I have a decent amount of headroom back there, since I have the solar roof option. On the front, a little bit better material here. Memory seats for the driver. What's interesting is that passenger seat is fully manual. Slidey bar, there is no power front passenger seat, which is kind of a swing and a miss for the price point. I love the seats. This is the only type of seats you get here on the Prime in the States. It's the only interior, which is just black with red accents, but they are pretty nice overall. So let's go and close the door. Now we have red ambient lighting that goes across the dash. This is blue in the normal Prius. Also, this red trim here on the dash is unique to the Prime models. Standard is an 8-inch screen on the SE and XSE. The XSE Premium comes with this 12-inch screen, which looks a lot better than the base screen. I still have an issue with the volume knob being all the way over there. I get that the passenger can use it, but it should be centrally located for both people. This takes forever to adjust the volume with, and I just don't like this flimsy knob compared to a real knob. This is standard. Like on the normal Prius, there's nothing that changes here, so I'm not going to cover that too much. I really like this screen. It kind of acts as a head-up display, how close it is to the glass. So my point of view is right here, and so it does not infringe into my visibility on the road. Digital rear view mirror here, which is kind of nice because the rear visibility on the Prius is not the greatest in the world, but it is definitely better than the C40 Volvo that I had last week. Since we have that digital rear view mirror, of course, we have a 360 camera here as well. We're gonna have parking sensors on this model too. The shifter here is kind of like the saddle horn of a horse's saddle. We also have cup holders up front, hideable storage. It says hidden compartment, or should I say hashtag hidden compartment in there. 2 more USB-Cs here, 12 volts, 2 more USB-Cs in here with a pretty shallow storage compartment, but like that, it's felt lined. Auto brake hold right here, it does not have memory, so I have to turn that on every time I restart the car. These buttons are specific to the Prime. Auto electric vehicle / hybrid vehicle. The car will determine when it wants to use EV. If you're buying this car, you're probably not going to put it on auto. The only time I'd maybe recommend that is if you're taking a long road trip or something. So I just leave it in EV mode. Once that my charge is out, then it switches to hybrid mode. Now you can also switch to hybrid mode exclusively by pressing this button. So you'll say HV mode right there. And I can press and hold this button and it'll say I'm in charge mode, but battery charge mode is unavailable because the battery is too full. It's not exactly full, it's at 82%, but it's too full for the engine to kick on to charge it. Okay, so let's get into this screen here to talk about the solar readings. 151 watts, the most I think I saw it when the car was perfectly clean was 168 watts. Earlier today, I saw 156 watts, something like that. And so the most I've seen in a day is just shy of 1,000 watt hours. So I'm getting about, if I go back to EV mode here, I'm getting about 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour. So I'm getting probably about 3 to 4 miles of charge if I leave it out in the sun. I actually don't recommend leaving it out in the sun. You get this solar roof, not necessarily for the solar aspect, because the solar doesn't do a whole lot other than maybe charge your 12 volt, but it gives you more headroom and you don't have the additional heat of the double glass beaming into the cabin. So I think those are actually the two main benefits from getting the $610 solar roof option. Just having a little bit more headroom and less heat pouring into the cabin because of the reduction in overhead windows. The most I saw this help me was I got about an additional 5 miles from 2 days of just leaving this in the sun. That's what these 2 days. And this one is a little bit lower because it was a little bit cloudy in the afternoon. So I would not rely on it to charge your vehicle. A cool feature, and some people just don't like glass roofs. So I think that's going to be more of a draw than anything than the tiny amount of power that it generates through its solar cells. You're better off just plugging it in through a normal 110 or 120 volt household plug, and you'll get 10 times the amount of power flowing into the battery than the sun. And you're cooking in here if you leave it in the sun, and so you have to run the AC harder. It never works out as a benefit if you're using it to try to generate miles. Just plug it into a socket. But it is cool. It's more of like a party trick than anything, and I love seeing the solar feed into here. To give you an idea though, with AC running, it's probably pulling 1500 watts by itself or something like that. So yeah, with me only pulling a 1/10 from the solar panels to what it takes to use the AC, it's kind of just a gimmick, but it's a cool gimmick. I do have heated seats too. I have a heated steering wheel, I believe, in here. Yes, the button is right over here. Of course, in the heat of summer, I'm not going to be using that, nor the heated windshield wiper option. This is how you turn on your plugins in the back. With this vehicle built in Japan, it's not a surprise. I typically see perfect baseball stitching from all vehicles built in Japan, from Mitsubishi's to this Toyota. And we just see that craftsmanship as well on the stitching here on the seats too. All right, we're gonna start driving the Prius in EV mode. That's what the Prime is for. You wanna be driving as often as possible with the electrification on full blast here. So like you guys saw in the 0 to 60, it's quick. Like, it's an electric vehicle, so you have that instant torque here as I pull out. It'll chirp the wheels if you're not careful. It's obviously like the ultimate form of the Prius here. As I get into the brakes, I do like the brakes in here. They're a little soft, but they're eons better than the the 4th and 3rd generation Prius brakes. We're gonna cut off that Lincoln a little bit. I have a window. The handling in here, it is noticeably heavier than the standard Prius with the smaller battery pack. It's not as fun to throw around the turns. It does feel heavier, but it also feels more solid too. This vehicle feels almost like I'm driving a Lexus. It's quieter than the normal Prius. I do have laminated glass up here. It's a very, very quiet car, especially when you're in full electric mode like I am right now. You do hear the engine turn on when you hustle it in hybrid mode, but we'll get to that when we start driving in hybrid mode. What's the response like? I'm going about 43 miles an hour pedal down. There's nothing there. So for driving around town, EV mode is perfect. It's never let me down keeping up with traffic. Even with kids in here, with groceries in here, it is still a serviceable city car, and even more so than before. The old Prius Prime didn't have this sort of power, and in fact the new Prius Prime, when you include the gasoline engine with the 2-liter, you're getting 99 more horsepower compared to the old Prius Prime. So yes, it is better in every single regard other than maybe passenger and cargo capacity. Efficiency, like you guys saw earlier, I'm getting about 4.2 to 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, depending on how heavy I need to run the AC in here. It's the heat of the day right now. It's 141, it's 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and humid as you could imagine. Now, there is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay in here. I typically, well, I've only used it wired in this vehicle. For some reason, I haven't been able to connect my phone wirelessly. It's either my phone, Toyota system, their new software anyways is not always the most reliable connecting wirelessly to their system. Sometimes in other Toyota models, I've had no hiccups. This one, I literally just have to plug it in wired, which is fine by me. I've been able to squeeze out about 44 to 45 miles of fully electric per charge, and then I'll switch over to the hybrid mode right after that. There was an instance where I charged it 2 days in a row with the sun, and they got me 5 more miles. So technically I was able to get 50 miles on a charge because I didn't drive it for 2 days. It would have been also way more beneficial for me to just re-plug it in while sitting for 2 days because it was just sitting at my house. So I could have just plugged it in and got, more miles that way. But yeah, 45 miles roughly is what I'm getting here in summertime in flat, hot Florida. Now going about 50 miles an hour, I hear a little bit of like wind buffeting, but I don't know really where it's coming from. It's not annoying whatsoever. All right, let's flip it into hybrid mode. What is the Prius Prime like when you put it into hybrid mode? Well, I'm gonna zero this out again because when you run in hybrid mode, sometimes with EV mode, it doesn't know how to calculate miles per gallon very easily. So I was getting infinite miles per gallon. So we'll just zero it out. But what's the response like now that I have access to this engine? Oh yeah. You get the initial punch from the electric motor, and then the gasoline starts chipping in, and then you accelerate quite nicely, something that no Prius has done before. And it's something that this Prius cannot do when it's in fully electric mode. And it was actually pretty quiet there, more quiet than I remember being under full load in the normal Prius. But when you're just steady state, even in fully on hybrid mode here, not using the electric mode, the gasoline engine's on, and to me it's just as quiet as it is in EV mode when you're doing the same speed. When you're doing acceleration from 0 to let's say 40 miles an hour, that's where the electric mode is noticeably quieter than the hybrid mode. But the hybrid mode is still really, really quiet, and I would say it's luxury quiet. The ride quality in here, it's a little bit firm, probably because of these 19-inch wheels, but this is like a gateway drug for two reasons. One, for luxury. If this seat over here was power and the materials were a little bit better in the back seat, like, this is a luxury car. And unlike the Lexus lineup, which is the luxury division of Toyota, there's no Lexus that has this amazing powertrain that the Prius Prime has. And I just scratched my head. It's a Toyota thing. They often forget about the Lexus lineup. If you look at the NX and RX plug-in hybrids, they came many, many years after the RAV4 Prime got that same powertrain. And so let's just get into the accelerator here. burning rubber. It is, God, it's quick. It keeps pulling. It's quite a bit faster than the standard Prius. Anyways, yeah, it's a luxury car without a Lexus badge and without a power seat up front, essentially. It's also a gateway drug when it comes to electrification. If you want an EV, but you're worried about range anxiety, get a plug-in hybrid. You're able to use it as an EV for most of your daily needs. For me, like 45 miles of range is actually adequately carries all my daily needs for getting my kids to school and back. Like, it's amazing. This might be the only plug-in hybrid to actually do that on a single charge that I've tested anyways. If I remember right, some of the Volvo, like the S60 Recharge, comes close. That vehicle's quite a bit more expensive than this and also a lot faster. And that's more of a real luxury car as a Volvo, but it would be a coin flip between the two. I know this one would keep its value better than the Volvo S60. But anyways, yes, it's also a gateway drug into fully battery electric. And in fact, most people will be better off if they have a house and they plan on taking trips, or maybe they just have one car. A plug-in hybrid's hard to beat because you do all your city errands on the plug-in battery, and then when you need to go out of town, especially in this car, 45 to 50 miles per gallon or so in hybrid mode. Before we get into is it worth the money, you also need to realize, like, at least where I live in Florida, there are zero. The closest one is like in Georgia somewhere, which is a lot. That's like an 8-hour drive for me just to get to the first Prius Prime. So they're pretty much unobtainium where I live. If you live in an area and you can get one at MSRP, yeah, I'd say it's worth it. To me, it gives me enough premium feel for the price, and it gives me enough performance for the price, and it's such a unique, and there's a perfect vehicle to talk about with this. But at the price around $42,000, I could get a Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, get 4-wheel drive, have way more space, and for about the same price, because you can get those actually discounted probably below what you would have on here. So there is competition for this vehicle, but it's typically in the sense of SUV plug-in hybrid, since there's not a lot of sedan or hatchback plug-in hybrids on the market. I reviewed the Kia Niro plug-in hybrid. I can't recommend that because of what it costs over the standard hybrid, and you don't get any more performance, and the range is limited compared to this car especially. But this is no longer like an economy car like the old Prius Prime was. This is a hot hatch, semi-premium luxury car that dips your feet into both worlds. You get enough electrification here to make it feel like a punchy electric car, and you have enough performance to make it feel like a hot hatch with the materials to make it feel premium. So, as well as the ride quality and the quietness is premium too. So I love the Prius Prime. Just at $42,000, I don't know. If you could find a base SE at around $34,000, that's where you could get that, or maybe a XLE standard Prius. I would be going for the Prius Prime just because I love the flexibility of this powertrain and the punchiness of it. I'd rather have I'd rather have a base Prius Prime SE than a fully decked out Prius non-prime, if that makes sense. And it would cost less in theory too, if you can get it for MSRP, if you can even find one. So Toyota, great car. Somehow make more of them, or we might just be waiting for a few more years for the battery plant in North Carolina to open up for us to have a little bit easier access at plug-in hybrids throughout the Toyota lineup here in North America. But this vehicle, it's a bit bittersweet for me knowing that I've actually only seen one here in the state of Florida, and I see Lamborghinis, Ferraris, McLarens pretty much every single day, multiple times a day. But a Prius Prime, the new generation anyways, is one of the most rare new cars on the road where I live. So anyways, I'll see you guys down below. Do you think it's worth the price? Would you be getting a normal Prius? Stay tuned for my Corolla hybrid review that will be going up next week, because that's more of like the old school. You buy a Prius or you buy a hybrid for the fuel economy. This car costs so much that it's no longer about the fuel economy. It's more like a tech nerd's dream. And so with the solar panels in here, I geek out quite a bit. But I'm going to shut it down there. I'll see you guys down below. And yeah, thanks Toyota for sending me the Prius Prime. I almost bought one of these, but I would have had to driven many states to get one. Anyways, I'm going to shut it down. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day and peace out.